And welcome, guys. Welcome to the Ultimate Soccer Show. We've got a great show lined up for you. What it's all about? Well, you know what it's all about. The Nations League Cup final this Sunday, Allegiant Stadium down there, Las Vegas, Nevada. And I tell you what a fantastic stadium Allegiant Stadium is. You know, not really recognized by FIFA for World Cup qualifiers, etc., etc. It is for this competition. And CONCACAF recognizes Allegiant Stadium. But what a great venue this could be, possibly for the 2026 World Cup. And maybe they didn't think about it. Maybe it wasn't in the planning. But I tell you, what a beautiful stadium. Anyway, let's get down to it. On Sunday, the crowd, 99% US, 1% Canadian. I wonder who's going to be cheering at the end of the game. And I wonder if we're going to get to hear those Canadian fans that we did hear in a very empty stadium in the first game of the doubleheader of the semi-finals. I'm obviously having a little laugh and a little poke of fun because the US fans don't turn up for anybody but their own team because they're so passionate. They don't want to see anybody else but their own. And you've got to say, they have great support. Wherever this team goes, World Cups or otherwise, they have great support. And if you cast your minds back to the World Cup recently, both the USA, Canada, Mexico, and Costa Rica had great support at the World Cup. So what am I saying? We are in for a magical final. Don't forget, USA is ranked 13 in the world and Canada ranked 47. And the USA is defending the title that they won in the inaugural competition 2019. So America is defending on home soil. Most of the competitions in CONCACAF are in America. So is that an advantage for America? Is it a disadvantage for everybody else? I see that as a massive advantage, and that's possibly why over the last 20, 30 years, the USA has become possibly the number one team in CONCACAF, whereby for many, many years, you always looked toward Mexico. And now there's a third guy, and they say two's company, three's a crowd. Well, these three are making a lot of trouble for each other. And I'm talking Mexico, Canada, and the USA, because those are the three teams I see winning trophies in CONCACAF way into the future. I don't see anybody catching them. But anyway, let's take a look at some of the big games recently between the USA and Canada. Now, the form books, if you're looking at the form, real simple. Go back 5 games, just 5 games. I mean, you got to say 5 games is enough to give you a feel of where this could be going. In the last 5 games, it's pretty even. In fact, it's perfectly even. 2-1-2, 6-6. What am I talking about? I'm talking both teams have played 5 games against each other. They've both won 2. Both drawn 1, both lost 2, and scored 6 and conceded 6. Would you believe that? Well, you better now, because that is a fact. That's the last 5 games for you. Moving forward into this game on Sunday, I have to say that I do feel that the title may well stay in the USA, even though they're coming in with a bit of a handicap. We'll talk about that real soon. But on the day, you have to say the USA is still the favourite to win this trophy, and Canada looking for their first in 23 years. Will it happen? Let me know down below. What's the score going to be, USA fans? What's the score going to be, Canada fans? What's the score going to be if you're a fan from another country looking in on our competition? Now, talking about the big games, one of the big games was in this competition, 2019, when Alphonso Davies and Lucas Cavallini scored, and that was in the competition in 2019 when Canada won that game. And again, in a World Cup qualifier, we had Kyle Larin and Sami Adekubi scoring goals in the 2-0 win at Hamilton in Canada in a World Cup qualifier. America has absolutely kicked the boots out of Canada in one of those games in the last 5, and that was a 4-1 win, whereby Canada took a goal within seconds of that game, and it never really materialized. And that was literally when Johnny Herdman was getting new to the scene, and nowadays it's a different scene. Now, talking about possible lineups. Go for Canada first. You're looking at probably Bojan, Johnson, Miller, Vittoria, Adekubi, Larea, Estacio, Alphonso Davies, Jonathan David, Kyle Larin, and then outright Tajon Buchanan. Now, looking at America, 2 of the players that they had in that team midweek will not be there. Both red-carded, both sent off. I'm talking McKennie and Dest. Possible lineup for the USA will be Turner, Scally, Miles Robinson, Zimmerman, Anthony Robinson, Musa, Weah, De La Torre, Pulisic, Balogun, and Pepe. Those are the possible lineups that I'm seeing coming through. Don't forget, substitutions bench could be a mixture of whatever you've got rest in the rest of the squad. But we pretty much know that with Canada, what you saw in the last lineup is pretty much what you're going to get in this game. Moving on, Moving on, the two red cards that the USA took the other day, we're talking Weston McKennie and Serginho Dest. Well, I've got to say, McKennie first. It was so unnecessary. And I've watched McKennie play for quite some time, not just in the US, but also over in Europe. And I got to tell you, that what he brought in this semi-final, he brings in most of his games. He brings that physical effort. He brings that presence. He brings that attitude. He brings that anger. He brings an edge. And it's that edge that got the best of himself on the night. Had he kept it calm, he'd be in this final. I believe that McKennie out of the team is a big loss for the US. You could take out Dest, but taking out McKennie from that team is a big loss to the US. So I'm saying this much. Keeping the discipline would have helped the US for the final. The other guy, Serginho Dest, kind of surprised me the way he reacted at the time. And backing up the video reel, looking at it again and again and again, he wasn't the only one. That's why 4 guys got red cards, 2 for Mexico, 2 for the US. But again, it was discipline. I mean, don't get caught up in the moment. Don't get caught up in the moment. You've got to keep your heads. And with a top coach, I got to tell you, with a top coach in charge of these guys, I think there would have been maybe a slight bit more discipline in the pre-match. And remembering, guys, keep your heads. Don't lose your heads. We're 1 game away from the final. Keep it together. Bring what you got. Maximum effort. Go, 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 USA. But don't lose your heads. And both those guys lost their heads. And I tell you what, I think it will impact the final. And it's that will give Canada a slight advantage moving through to the final. One other piece of news as well is that man, Greg Berhalter, he is back in the chair. Now, you remember he took a bit of time off because there was an investigation, yada, yada. Well, now the investigation's over. And if you wanted to know, it's because of him kicking his wife many, many years ago. What's going on in the world where people are getting investigated for stuff that happened decades ago? Who's leading the witch hunts? The witch hunts are going on all over in soccer right now. But anyway, Greg Berhalter, back in charge of the USA. I say this is a good day for the USA. I really do. Now, talking about a dangerman for the USA, I think you've got to be straight up with Pulisic. The Chelsea man is literally on fire no matter what he touches and is the general, is the inspiration. He is the poster boy for the USA too. Other guys, you could say, Reina, he can make something happen. Pepe, absolutely for sure. Aronson, I'm really loving Brendan Aronson no matter where he goes. Unfortunately, he gets relegated with Leeds. He's going to be looking for a new contract out of there. But Aronson can make things happen. Weir and Balogun can also do the damage too. On the Canadian side of things, it's the same old faces. It's Larin. It's Jonathan David. It's Buchanan. And it's Vittoria, maybe for a corner. And maybe you could say Steven Eustáquio may get on the end of it too. But it's the same old culprits, either team. We know who you are. You just got to supply it on the day. Like I say, the prediction for the game, at the end of the day, I say that there's things that are going to happen. And some of the things that are going to happen is about keeping your head. Canada, the same, does keep their head. They play a very, very, very calm game. They know their routines. They also know what John Herdman won't allow. And acting out is something that I haven't seen with this team. I've seen effort. I've seen aggression. But I've seen a team unity and a team discipline with Canada that has forwarded that team to this point, that they are now in a position for the first time in 23 years of absolutely having a chance at gaining silverware the hard way being on the road in the US against all the noise, against all the fans, against all the odds. Can they do it? Yes, they can. Is the US expected to win? Yes, they are. But the key points is precision passing for Canada and patience. Use the 3 Ps, get the game done, and they may well be on their road to a victory that they'll never forget in their lives. If there's no precision and if there's no critical patience within this game, I see the USA will take a grip in the first half and commandly take the second half. Scorelines, it could end up just 1-0. It could end up 2-1 if the USA take it. I'd hate to see it get any higher. I don't think both teams are looking for a blowout, and I don't think both teams deserve to get blown out. At the end of the day, I think the US is your favourite. 1 or 2-1, 1-0 or 2-1 is the winning category. And for Canada, if they do get the win, it's going to be one of two things. It's just a 1-0 win or a real battle for 2-0. That might surprise you. But if the US has a bad day, they won't get on the board. If they have a good day, Canada doesn't get on the board either. At the end of the day, I say this much. It's going to be tight. and the big guys need to come through. It's either going to be your Jonathan David or your Pulisic for either of the teams that leads and makes it happen up front. And again, I expect substitutes to be used in this one. I expect a battle. I expect edginess. I expect real fights from both teams. And I don't expect a boring game either. I think this one could go down to the wire, and it could be pushed till the edge of time before we get a proper decision. The one thing I don't want to see is a team take the lead, get a couple, and really kill the final within the first half. I'd love to see a game that goes the full 90 minutes plus. I'm sure you do too. Drop us a line down below. Tell us what you think and who's going to win. And are we going to get more nastiness in this game? I mean, you look at those Mexican fans and you look at that Mexican team looking at McKennie, and I tell you what, can you imagine how angry they were at him at that time? It's that needs to be avoided. Guys, I tell you what, drop a line down below. Scorelines. What do you think the scoreline's going to be? Who's your winner? And who's going to be the star of the game? Who's going to be the man of the match? Who do you see scoring the goals? What do you see? Drop it down below. Let's get ready for a big game on Sunday, because I tell you what, it's been a long time coming, Canada. And I know you US fans are used to getting in the end of things, Gold Cups, such like. Well, Canada hasn't been so lucky over the years. Now that they've got the talent to compete, I think we're in for an absolute barn-burning final. I would have loved to see Mexico in the final against Canada. But you know what? Going up against the USA, who else would you want to play? Guys, get ready for the Sunday final. It's going to be massive. We're in there with a fighting chance. Both teams, may the best team win. Cheers.